Today I'm going to be talking about games that are my favorite on the Commodore Vic-20. I did a previous video sharing 10 games that you probably should check out. And in today's video, I took some feedback and want to discuss 10 additional games that I think are some of my favorites. I love the Commodore Vic-20. It was a precursor to the successful Commodore 64. A lot of people haven't seen games on the Vic-20. Maybe you grew up with it. Maybe some of these are your favorite, or maybe you've never heard of it and you may want to check it out. There's many different ways of playing Vic-20 games. It's easy to emulate, and there are resources online. So in today's video, I'm sharing 10 additional favorite games that you may want to check out on the Vic-20 library. There's about 300 plus cartridge commercial released games for this classic computer, as well as 500 plus additional tape games on cassette tape. And you know what? There's Homebrew and Aftermarket support. I am a big fan of the Commodore Vic-20 and happy to share these games. So sit back, relax. Here we go. I had the enjoyment of playing this awesome Tutankhamun style adventure game, and I really enjoy it. 16 screens, you're avoiding various enemies, and very colorful graphics for the Vic-20. Really shows a capability of what it could do. Back in the day, it did get Game of the Year, and it is on other classic computer platforms, but I really enjoy the Vic-21, as this is one I played back in the day and really enjoyed it over time, and I think I highly recommend you checking it out, especially if you like these types of games such as Montezumas Revenge. Maze games were all the craze back in the day in the early 80s, and Commodore Vic-20 had the awesome Raid on Fort Knox. This is a cool take on the maze games where you're collecting money or bars, and then you're going back and depositing them, avoiding enemies. As it progresses, it gets really challenging. I really enjoyed this one, and many people in my previous video commented this was the game they played. This is the one that really hooked them on the Commodore Vic-20 and its capability of making addicting games. A true classic and one I highly recommend. If you want to go back and play the company Rare in its humble beginnings, this is Jetpack, and you're probably wondering, wait a minute, there was a Vic-20 version? Yes. This is probably more known for the ZX Spectrum computer release, but the Vic-21 is great, and I really discovered this way later after it was released. There is a version of this game offered on Rare Replay, a true classic computer gem. This next one is definitely in my top 10, and it's Artillery Duel. This is on several consoles and classic computers, including the Astrocade and ColecoVision, and every version's a little bit different. You control the angle of your turret as well as the power of the shell that you launch. It's a great two-player game, random terrain every time you play. It's different. I absolutely love this game. I actually did a tournament of this game back in the day with friends, and it's got a great little animation of army men marching at the end. Fantastic, and a thumbs up for me. Crossfire, which was probably more known to be an IBM PC Junior launch game, as well as on other classic computers, but it's fairly decent on the Commodore Vic-20. I think the Commodore Vic-20 often gets overlooked, but to me, this is just simplistic gameplay with the intensity of an arcade game. I absolutely love this. I didn't check this out back in the day. This was recommended by a viewer of the channel on my previous video, and I love it now. Thank you. An arcade port of PacMan done by HAL Laboratory Jelly Monsters, and this was a fantastic version of PacMan. Unfortunately, it was sued and had to be pulled from shelves, making this cartridge version of this game very difficult and expensive to acquire now. But hey, good news is on emulation you can check this out, and this is a wonderful version of PacMan, and you know, so much better than the Atari 2600 version and several other versions of the time. So it really, you know, if you look at the limitations of the Vic-20 and take that into consideration, this is a wonderful version of PacMan and worth playing. Many people will have stories about Gore, and the Vic-20 version, although not the best looking actually played very well and had all 4 levels. That's important. You know, there was a lot of shortcomings from home ports back in the day, but there was several stories shared on my last video about Vic-20 about Gore. And it's fun, it's fantastic. Doesn't look the best, but if you can get past that, you're going to enjoy a fairly faithful port. It doesn't have the voice, but you know, that doesn't bother me, as you know, if I played this back in the day, I would have been totally satisfied. Gotta love the Coke bottle looking boss ship at the end. But you know, it's satisfying when you take it out and move on to the next stage. Another excellent port was Shoplifter, and I got lucky back in the day finding a physical cartridge version of this and really enjoyed this when I first got my Vic-20, which was in the 90s. But you know what, you know, however you experience this, this is a fantastic version. And a Shoplifter is another example where, you know, it's on several different classic computers and consoles, but you know, going back to this version, I really enjoy it. And it has all the arcade goodness here, you know, rescuing hostages as well as taking out enemies above and below, and challenging as ever. Even has the waving flag when you rescue them and take them back to base. A true iconic classic. Another one that got recommended to me from several viewers is Sword of Fargo. This is also on the Commodore 64. Fantastic little dungeon crawler on the Vic-20, and lots here. You gain experience by taking out enemies. There's lots of neat things to uncover. Treasure. You can sacrifice gold at temples, which gains you experience points. Several maps, lots of different enemies, and a great way to experience a classic OG computer game, and one of the best on the library, and I highly recommend it. Then you have the awesome Radar Rat Race, and this is a clone of Rally X and done by HAL Laboratories, another early release from them, and just awesome. And you know, there's probably a lot of people that might have played this more on the Commodore 64, but for me, I played this a lot when I got my Vic-20. It was one of the first cartridges that I got in a lot. And you know what, whatever version you play of this game, this version, it is great. And so it's a great take on Rally X with its own kind of unique aspect of it. Proof a game doesn't have to be complicated to be fun. Now, there are some honorable mentions, and a big one is Donkey Kong. Now, the Vic-20 version doesn't look great, but it has all 4 levels, including the Pie Factory stage, and I have to at least give it an honorable mention, as well as there was some amazing text adventure games on the Vic-20, and those are the Scott Adams Adventure Series, Adventureland, The Count. There were some others, Pirates Cove, but you're going to have your favorites, and I have to give those honorable mention, as I know that for many people, they are the favorites that they played. So, of the games I shared with you today, what were your favorite? And if you didn't see a game that I should have mentioned, remember I did another video on some of my favorite Vic-20 games, and the link will be below to that. As well, there might be another game that I didn't mention, and feel free to share it in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming to my channel and viewing this. I do a wide variety of content talking about classic computer, retro, modern, and a whole bunch of fun. Thank you so much. If you like what you see, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and clicking the bell as I'm uploading videos every week. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. Let's keep it positive. This is Immortal John Hancock, and you have a good day.